All right, so a lot of these words you're going to know. These are not going to be new words. We might maybe be fine-tuning their definition just a little bit. So the study of organisms and how they interact with each other and their organisms in their environment. You got it. Ecology.
Wow, so smart. Like I'm the top of the notes.
Hey now. Using your context clues is being smart. There you go. Second term, effort to maintain or preserve the environment, not for the sake of the environment itself, but so that humans can use it for years to come. So we're preserving something because we like it or we like using it in a particular way. A lot of times you will hear this word used for like hunters and game and parks kind of people. Thoughts? Starts with a C. Conservation.
Okay.
And my main example of how to contrast this with the other term that we're going to have is, for example, pheasants. Like there's huge groups, like Pheasants Forever is like a big organization, lots of people working for Pheasants Forever and trying to maintain pheasants. Why is that kind of weird from an ecology standpoint?
Because pheasants, they're hunted so popular. When white man first got here, they practically wiped out species, and now that they're starting to make a comeback, everybody's trying to preserve them.
No. But none of what you said is false. But, except for the part where they were really populated when the white man came, not true. They're not native to North America. They are not a native species. They don't belong here, period. But we're spending all of this time and energy to maintain them. Why?
It's because we use them to hunt.
Yeah, because we like hunting them. We like seeing them. We like hunting them. But they don't belong here, right? So pheasants are not native to North America. So the conservation of, I mean, it makes sense. They're not causing any problems here. They're beautiful. They're kind of neat. But in terms of like, you know, the natural state, they don't belong here. So that's kind of one way to think about conservation versus our other word. So another one would be this one. You could argue either way. Some people are like, well, I want to maintain natural parks because they're worth protecting versus I want to maintain natural parks because I want my kids and grandkids to be able to see these things. So it's kind of a lot of places where conservation and environmentalism, which is our next word, are going to overlap, because you can want to maintain a park both because you think it's awesome and we should keep it, and because we want to be able to use it to go camping and go sightseeing and for human interest. So there's a lot of overlap. But environmentalism is a little bit more purely for the sake of its nature and it deserves to exist because it has intrinsic value, not because humans want to use it for anything. And so for the sake of protecting them and the wildlife they contain, again, not for any human benefit at all. All right, so another good example of where they would overlap. Okay, so maybe somebody says, I want to stop mining coal. I want coal to, you know, not be an energy source over there. What would be one way we could think of that as a conservation, like human interest thing, to not want to take coal out of the ground anymore? Because why?
Because we don't want to drive cars that
Okay. Maybe. So coal is a fossil fuel. What do you know about fossil fuels? Are they unlimited or limited? Limited. So maybe from a human interest standpoint, I want to be like, let's start leaving coal in the ground because we're going to run out. We might as well start coming up with something else because we're going to run out anyway. We're going to need another resource. So that's kind of the human-centered reason, like, let's keep coal in the ground. What would be the environmentalist reasoning for, hey, let's keep the coal in the ground? Yeah, because it's affecting the earth. The more coal we take out, not only is the place we took the coal away from affected by that, we then take the coal, we burn it, we add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, and we're in, you know, climate change, which affects everything. So there's both, both viewpoints can argue for the same thing. It's more about their intent that makes it conservation versus environmentalism. So again, sometimes these are used interchangeably. But if you look at the intent, they're slightly different. So I just made these up, except for I used real people that I know that have these viewpoints. But Kermit is my dad. There he is. That's Kermit Fees. So Kermit leaves a row or two of shrubs between his fields so the deer have somewhere to bed down. This is for the future benefit to him and his guests hunting or sightseeing. More conservation or more environmentalism? Conservation. All right. Matt wants to stop the clear cutting of a forest because it will harm the lives of the plants and animals there.
That's constant.
Okay.
Well, actually, can that one be both?
What does it say anything about any benefit to him?
I think it'd be more environmentalism.
I would say
There's
so.
Also, some sort of conservation.
I would say since it doesn't say anything about a human use for keeping it, I would say this is more the environmentalism view. All right. And Brandon, my friend who's a veterinarian now, did an experiment in college where he tested this pesticide on frogs, and he noticed, reproduced like a ton of frogs, and the more of this pesticide there was in the water, they had all kinds of frogs coming out with like 5 legs and didn't have reproductive parts that worked. So he fights to get this pesticide outlawed, so to save the species of frogs. Humans don't use this species of frog for anything. It's not like the kind of frog you would like catch and eat frog legs or anything like that. So what do you think? More environmentalist, because it's just for the sake of the frogs. We don't use them. Okay. And I'm not saying that one is bad and one is good. I'm just saying they have slightly definitions. All right. 2. Page 2. All right. We have areas ecologists can study. These include plants and animals, fungi, non-living things as well, the dirt, the air, the temperature. Thoughts. What's this level that has everything in it? Ecosystem. I guess Sims fits in grammatically better. So it includes living things, non-living things, weather, everything about the place. And we can put all ecosystems into a handful of categories. Okay, so the categories would be things like grassland. What do we call our categories of ecosystems? Biomes. Okay, so what 2 factors do you think would determine what biome exists in an area? Okay, so like here, we're temperate grassland. Why?
Like the temperature.
Temperature, and what else?
Annual precipitation.
Precipitation. And no, we're not going to spend a bunch of time learning about the different biomes. I think that is, we did that, right? That's done. But we do have one possibly new way to refer to biomes. Any biome that's on land, we have a word that just is referring to stuff on land. Starts with a T. What? No. No, I'll keep going. No? Terrestrial. Terra means earth. If you ever have a friend named Tara, you can tell her name means earth. Or like if you watch sci-fi stuff and they're talking about terraforming another planet, they're trying to make it more like Earth so somebody could live there. Terra. Anyway, so we got a couple examples. Temperate grassland, that's us. Temperate forest. Tundra. Can you think of some of the ones I skipped over? Desert is a big one. It's literally the biome that has the most area on Earth. So, rainforest. And I'll try to describe this one and see if we can think of it.
Taiga.
Yeah, taiga. Sometimes also called the boreal forest. So, if a place has very, very little rainfall, doesn't really matter what temperature it is, obviously that'll be desert. If it has lots of precipitation and high temperatures, tropical rainforest, and just kind of mix of the two determines those. All right, so we kind of split up. We have minimal, medium, and lots of precipitation. If a place gets minimal rainfall, it's probably going to be a desert, but what kind of plant life are we probably going to see in a desert? If there's at least a little bit. Some deserts have like no plants, but cacti and succulents. A place that has a medium amount of rainfall is going to have what kind of plant life dominant? Grasses. Because a lot of grasses have really, really intricate root systems, so they can kind of dig down and get moisture when it's lacking, but they also don't need a ton of moisture because they're small. So they work good in those kind of not too much rainfall. But there's also grasses in some places where there is a lot of rainfall in parts of the year. What would prevent trees from growing in some places where there is a lot of rainfall naturally? So if they have a dry season that has fires, you know, a tree might start growing and then it's just going to get burned up. So medium rainfall and or places that have a dry season that has fires that are coming. And the last one, lots of precipitation is needed for what kind of plant life? Trees. So if you think about in Nebraska, before humans came out here, where was about the only place people would see a lot of trees?
By the river.
By the river, right? Out away from the river, there would be very, very few trees. But now we're like trees, which is great. But all right, so we had terrestrial biomes or on land. What about in the water? That's what we might call the general term for all biomes in the water. Especially A, aquatic. So I gave you pond, river, intertidal zone, which is kind of like on the beaches. Lakes. And we're missing the biggest one, oceans. What's the difference between a pond and a lake? Yeah, so by definition, a pond is shallow enough that light can get all the way to the bottom, and a lake is deep enough that there's like a dark level on the very, very bottom.
Wait, lakes have on such a dark level?
Lakes, they're deep enough that light doesn't get all the way to the bottom. And we'll stop right there.